Hi everybody, this is Everyday Commentary. This is my fourth video review, and it's a video review of a pocket knife. So the question is, do you want to see the perfect everyday carry pocket knife? There it is. In my opinion, this is the perfect everyday carry pocket knife. This is the Dragonfly 2 from Spyderco in ZDP-189 steel. You can see the ZDP-189 there. This pocket knife is so well designed. It's so light, it's so functional. I have sharpened it twice and I have used it a lot. It is a great pocket knife. It opens quite easily. It fits well in your hand. It buries nice and deep in the pocket thanks to this great wire pocket clip. So it hits right about there. This is one heck of a knife. It's about 70 or 80 bucks on the internet, and it is totally worth every penny. I typically review gear and using a 20-point scale. There are 10 categories. You can get a score of 0 through 2 in each of the 10 categories for a total of 20 points. 0 means that they failed, 2 means that it did excellently, and 1 means that it worked okay. This pocket knife is a 20 out of 20. It is a perfect pocket knife in my opinion. I mean, there are aesthetic things that you could do differently. Like this thing would look really awesome in carbon fiber, but I don't think it's necessary. I mean, as it is, it weighs well less than 2 ounces. And the texture on the FRN, the British Racing Green FRN, is really, really nice. So, you know, that's just an aesthetic thing. I probably wouldn't bother to trade up. If they made one like a Sprint version, I don't even know if I would trade up for it, because this is just a really nice pocket knife, and I can't justify spending more money on a pocket knife, seeing as it wouldn't be substantially better than this one if it's exactly the same knife. So the first category, design, what it looks like on paper, what are the blueprints for this knife. And here, you know, this is the classic Dragonfly shape. It has the finger choil, which is half on the blade and half on the handle. It has a deep, deep curve to suit the rest of your hand. And even though it is a really small knife, this knife is probably, the blade is well less than 2.5 inches, including the choil. It fits in your hand and uses all 4 fingers pretty easily. I've got big hands. I don't have big hands, but I have medium-sized hands, and it fits everything. So I like it a lot. In terms of design, I give it a 2 out of 2. The fit and finish, compared to the original Dragonfly, which I had, this knife is a little bit crisper. Everything is a little bit tighter. The lock is a little tighter. There's definitely no blade play, even way, way, way out at the end like that. No blade play. The lockup is nice and tight. The handle has changed so that you can undo the handle scales, clean the knife out. It used to be pins, now they're Torx bolts. The polish, this is something unusual. So ZDP-189 is a really high carbon steel. It has 3% carbon content by weight. And a lot of times you'll get, I haven't cleaned this, but a lot of times you'll get a little bit of tarnishing on ZDP-189. You could take it out with Fitz polish or something like that. But this knife, the version I got, the actual unit I got, had no tarnish whatsoever, and that's just the normal swirls you get from opening the thumb hole. No tarnish whatsoever. It hasn't had any rust. I've used it a lot. I carried it a lot. I've left it in my car, even when it's cold and wet, and it still does fine. You know, this is just a great looking pocket knife. So in terms of fit and finish, I gave it a 2 out of 2. The blade steel, like this is just without question the best blade steel I've ever used. I've used a lot of different knives. I've used a lot of VG10, I've used a lot of AS 8, but this is definitely the best blade steel on the market in my opinion. It just cuts and cuts and cuts and cuts. I made a fort for my son out of a box that our grill came in, and used probably 3/8 of an inch thick cardboard, and it was pretty fibrous cardboard. It was closer to wood than paper. And I cut all of the holes for like the doors and the windows using this knife, and it was still able to pop hairs off my arms. Now, I didn't chop any wood or anything like that, so this wasn't like high impact testing, but it was pretty tough stuff to cut. It did fine. This steel is really hard to sharpen, so do not let it get dull. Touch it up in the same way that you would touch up any other knife, but you're not going to have to do a whole lot of, serious grinding to get it sharp again. As long as you don't let it go dull, because I don't know if you could get it, grind it back. You might have to take it to somebody. So in terms of steel, I got a 2 out of 2. A grip, as I've shown you, this knife just sinks into your hand. It gives you a lot of control with the choil over the cutting edge, and the leaf-shaped blade is nice. So the grip in the hand is great. I give it a 2 out of 2. In terms of carry, this knife is so light and so small. The only issue is it's a little wide. If you look at the Sebenza review, the Sebenza is probably a ½ inch thinner than this knife because it has to incorporate the hump for the hole. But that would be it. That would be the only criticism, and even that's not that big a deal because the knife's so small that even with the hump, it's not that wide. It's probably 1.5 inches wide. Carry, you got a 2. It's just super light. The blade shape, everybody raves about the leaf-shaped blade, and it's nice. I like it. It's simple. It doesn't have any crazy geometry. It's not hard to sharpen. But I don't think it's the end-all and be-all. I think I'd actually like to have something with a little more belly. That being said, in terms of a leaf-shaped blade, this is a great rendition of the leaf-shaped blade. The swedge on the top takes off a little bit of weight. It actually has a little bit more belly than the Dragonfly 1 does. And the tip is absolutely razor sharp. I mean, this thing is like a needle. So if you need to do detail work, this is your knife. For that reason, I gave the blade shape a 2 out of 2. Surprisingly, the grind is really, really good. Sometimes on Spydercos, you'll get an uneven grind, especially on the secondary edge. This one had a great grind all the way through, so I gave it a 2 out of 2. In terms of deployment method, how you open the knife, again, the Spyderco hole is awesome. It just works. Not only does it make your knife lighter, it makes it easier to open, it makes it easier to close. The Spyderco hole was the way to go, and for that reason I gave that a 2 out of 2. The retention method, how you keep this thing attached to your body. The wire clip here is like the wire clip on the Cali 3, but the wire is a little stiffer, a little thicker. It's a deep carry wire clip. They make non-deep carry versions that instead of going up and over, they come down and out. This is probably one of my favorite clips, second only to the double dip pocket clip on the Sebenza. I really like the pocket clip here. So this got a 2 out of 2. And the lock, the method by which your fingers are kept safe. It's a back lock, not the most sophisticated thing in the world, but it works. And the choil helps. So even if the lock would fail, your thumb would, or your finger would block the blade from closing, and it would block the blade using the jimping on the bottom. It was jimping on the top and jimping on the bottom. This was in addition to the second series, the second Dragonfly series. This is one of the additions that even the basic Dragonfly, the non-ZDP version, carries. I would probably give the non-ZDP version a 19 because I've used VG10 steel and it doesn't hold an edge anywhere near as good as this, but it's okay. And all of the other things are pretty much the same. The weight, the ergonomics, the jimping, the pocket clip. Everything else is pretty much the same. So we get a 19 out of 20, and this guy gets a 20 out of 20. If you were looking for one pocket knife, and you only want to buy one pocket knife, buy this pocket knife.